My name is Ken Heeg. I'm with Perkins & Will, and on behalf of the Planning Committee, I want to welcome you all to Drew Charter School, and thank you for spending the day with us here. Representatives from Perkins & Will and Drew Charter School and Georgia State College of Education have been meeting and talking about, well, what could this conversation be? We all had a vested interest in building better partnerships and collaboration between K-12 and higher education, and a desire to really prepare our students better for today's workplace.
If you go back to 1980, most of the people worked actually in industry, right, in traditional industry. In fact, about 60% of the people were employed in traditional industry. And if you look today, only about 18% of the population are in traditional industry. The biggest growth areas are obviously in service, but in the creative industry. And so,
in fact, there's a movement called the T-shaped student. In other words, IBM is one of the leaders of that T-shaped movement, and they would say, we expect the student to be long and strong in their discipline, but we aren't going to hire your 4.0 students if that's all they are. We really want someone who, at the top of the T, has that creative, emotional, sort of the soft sciences as well, because we want a holistic person that can come into our corporate world, which is in a global platform, and be able to work with diverse disciplines, diverse connections, so that we can actually be an innovative and leading institution. And if you don't have that combination, IBM has gone out and said, we're not hiring you.
With regard to integration of the arts, at Georgia Tech, of course, there's been a lot of recent activity. They've had art crawls. There's been a lot more. There's a poetry, there's things that you wouldn't normally associate with an engineering school, and that's been a very deliberate effort because at the end of the day, yes, we can produce really good engineers, as so can Stanford, so can MIT, so can a lot of our peers. But the companies now are in such tight competition, the leveling effect of the internet and so forth has made creativity the non-commodity piece. Engineering is pushing closer to the commodity skill. A lot of people can get an engineer. If you just have a product and it's already designed, you need somebody to develop and produce it, that's your engineer. But if you need to be the one who comes up with the iPad first, if you need to be the first to market with that app or the first to market with that new biomedical device that no one's thought of before, there will be plenty of copycats, but you'll have a year jump on them if you had the idea and were able to develop it. And that creativity is an important element.
The whole thing we're talking about here is real-world education, be that K through 5, be that college level, be that graduate level. Bringing in the full steam means that you are able to do a real-world project.
I think we are so fixed on thinking about testing the wrong things. I think we are so aligned with the lockstep of the industrial mode, if you like, that says we have to teach to the test. That kills the innovation of great educators as well as it kills the innovation of students.
If we want to change the model of the types of students we're producing as an education system, and we are no longer in the industrial revolution sort of model, why are we using that same data-driven, please count how many test score successes you had by using this maker-based learning, using the same yardstick that we're trying to get rid of? You take big risks and you fail. Do it in your classroom too.
There is that fear of taking a risk or jumping off there, because if you're a nonprofit and you take a risk, that could mean you lose your donor. This fear of failure seems to be embedded within the structure at this point. How do you tackle that? How do you change someone's mind about something that they feel is something that they fear this failure?
If you're not looking at somebody else to validate your success or failure, then you have nothing to fear. Right. If you think you've tried a good idea because it was an interesting idea and maybe you fail and you learn from it, then that's not really a failure anymore.